Let's go ahead and take a look at the 3 ranked teams that we have listed in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football AP poll in the Texoma region. And starting off strong, y'all. Let's take a look at number 1 Gunner. No surprise here. They're number 1, sitting atop of the 3A Division II rankings. They hold the state's longest active winning streak at 31 games.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
That's not surprising at all. This year, it seems like last year was like, this is their team, right? They're really, really solid. They're going for the two-peat. I think that this year, they're just as strong. Now, of course, you don't have Walker Overman, our guy at quarterback. You don't have Cannon Lindbergh. He's off doing better things at SFA.
Jason Martin's gone too.
But to me, you're bringing back one of the more noticeable defenders in 3A in Colin Peacock. He was stellar for them last year. He does play both ways, but definitely is a stellar player.
Having him back from injury is going to be really big for them too.
Yes, I agree
really
too.
Really big.
And they've got a quarterback. His name is Preston Tarpley. He played a couple of snaps last year, so he's got experience at the varsity level. My question for Gunner, and we'll get into more of this later as we talk about Stonks. They got a tough non-district slate.
Oh, yeah.
In Anna and Salina.
They can't find anybody to play them. They're too good.
Because they
have to go outside of their classification by a couple of different levels to be able to find someone that will play them.
Anna's 5A now.
Yes.
You're ranking up 2 now. I mean, and
Gunner is 3A Division II. Let's keep that in mind.
And Anna, yeah, right. And Anna, yeah.
The
5A
reigning state champions.
Yeah, that's...
who moved up a classification.
Correct.
Are the only people they could find to play.
Which is insane to me. So, and that's my question. Can Gunner stay healthy throughout the non-district slate to compete in district slate and continue on with their reign throughout Region 2, or without 3A Division 2? And we'll get into more of that later when we talk about Stonks, but it seems to me like Stonks are up on them.
Yeah, yes. I'll save that. I'll save my thoughts on Gunner for later.
Yes.
Nothing needs to be said. As the favorite thing that the Gunner fans always say is, I said, like, the death machine is online.
Correct. They have logged on and they're not logging off.
They're not logging off.
Moving down to 2A Division 2, it's number 3 Honeygrove. Offense shouldn't miss a beat. You've got the return of Rylan Morris, who to me is one of the best players in all of 2A. He's an athlete. Lots of playmakers around him, like Jarmez Daniels as well. And to me, what stands out to me about this Honeygrove team is that they're very balanced on both sides of the ball. Stout on offense, stout on defense. I believe that they're the favorites coming out of District 9 2A Division 1.
They are.
With pretty much at ease there. Obviously, Cupper's going to be pretty hard. Now being in that district as well, but I think they should be pretty dominant in district play.
Yeah, well, and okay, here's the thing. They had a legendary defense last year. A legendary defense. They pitched 7 different shutouts.
Correct.
They averaged, the points allowed per game was 12.8. Out of all of those games they played, 68 of those points came in one game when they lost to Timpson in the playoffs. Okay? Other than that, you take those 68 points out, and they were averaging only like 5 points allowed per game. Legendary defense. Here's the kicker about Honeygrove and why they are ranked number 3 in the state. They have 9 starters on defense coming back.
Which is insane.
9 starters on defense. I believe they have 8 starters on offense coming back. So most all of that team that came out of really nowhere last year is coming back. And then, you look.
And they have the guy. I mean, like, in Rylan Morris.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've got the guy at that level,
yes,
that pushes you forward 100 years.
And I don't think I ever have to really voice how much I love 2A Division 1 when we get into the playoffs. This is going to be so fun, like it always is, but almost for different reasons at this point, because on the right side of the bracket, it is so fun. You've got Ganado ranked number 1 coming out of Region 4. You've got number 2, Refugio, coming out of Region 4. And then Region 3, you have Honeygrove, Timpson, number 4, Garrison, number 5. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Refugio's got a new coach this year, so that's not necessarily a lock. Timpson is playing with a new coach.
Without Terry Bussey.
So there's no reason that, like, Ganado and Honeygrove could be the ones that are battling for it at the end of the season. I mean, it's wild to think after and not to mention Shiner's still in there. Well, they dropped down. But it's just crazy to look at it and go, that right side of the bracket in 2A Division 1 has been the power nexus for so long. Most of the time, it was all coming out of Region 4. Then Timpson arose out of Region 3. Now Timpson might be back down. We don't know. And it's just, that's going 2A Division 1, come the playoff time, right side of the bracket, out of Region 3 and Region 4 is going to be so fun. And Honeygrove is a big reason for that.
Yeah, and it's really anybody's game. Like you said, at that level, it's really anybody's game with Terry Bussey being gone there at Timpson. And it's like, that's what makes it so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Is that we just don't know. Like, are we going to see a new team in the state championships this year? You know, we just don't know, but it certainly will be fun come playoff time. And then finally, our last ranked team in the Texoma region, coming out of 2A Division 2, it's number 5 Munster, which I feel like Munster's always kind of been in the mix. They've always been kind of in the talks for being one of the better teams, you know, in 2A Division 2. But it was kind of shocking to see them ranked this year, I think, just because they've had kind of a couple of down years in the past. And man, I like this team a lot because they have scheduled a tough non-district play. I don't know if you've seen it, but Holiday, Windthorst, Pottsboro, back to back to back before heading into district play. I mean, that's going to be tough. Again, like I said, they had a slower start last year, but they're returning 7 guys on both sides of the ball. And I think, honestly, at this level as well, experience can make the difference. I mean, if you've got a lot of guys that have played the varsity level at a lower classification like that, that puts you ahead so many years. You know what I mean? So
I think the big difference between this year and last year too, because there was 2 seasons back to back that weren't that great. 2 seasons ago they went 6-6. After that, then 8-2. Junior quarterback Kason Carney is the catalyst that's going to make that happen. Obviously, the son of head coach Brady Carney. He's a ball coaching Jack. He's been there for 14 years at Munster alone. So he's been waiting for this moment to be able to coach his son, and I think the kid can actually sling it. So I'm very excited to see that. Their secondary is going to be really strong, but really curious to see how the offensive line picks up. Munster has notoriously been one of those small 2A teams that you go to and go, you're not a 2A team.
No.
Look at that line. It's a bunch of like country-fed boys out there, man. There's some big old hosses. They don't have that this year. And this is the first time that a Munster team hasn't had a massive offensive line in a hot minute. So you've got the quarterback that you think can do it, but how well is that offensive line going to be able to protect Kason off the bat? That's what I'm going to be very interested in. And that's another bracket that is just so fun it's flipped from 2A Division 1, you go over to 2A Division 2, and it's all the left side of the bracket that's like really, really substantial. But I mean, they would have to go through teams like Albany, Windthorst, Wellington, all of those teams that are ranked in Region 1 and Region 2 to be able to, that's going to be a tough track to AT&T Stadium through the left side of the bracket.
Definitely. And I think, like you were kind of just saying, I think depth also is going to be huge for this team. I mean, do they have the depth, and do they have those secondary players that can step in on this really, really tough non-district slate, get through district and make a run in the playoffs? I mean, do they have the guys to do it? So yeah, really, really good points there. I think Munster's going to be a really, really fun team to watch up in the Texoma region throughout the year. So there you go, the 3 ranked teams coming out of the Texoma region. Again, lots of other really great teams to watch. Like Brigg mentioned, Tioga, he's high on Tom Bean, Pottsboro, Whitesboro. There's a lot of really talented teams with a lot of talented players up in the Texoma region, which leads me right into Cruton.
Players to watch.
Players to watch in the Texoma region. And what I noticed about looking at all these athletes, some of the athletes I wanted to talk about, some that I just didn't have room to mention, there's a lot of really, really, really great players on both sides of the ball. Players that play on both sides of the ball that are just dominant. And it's going to be super exciting. So let's go ahead and start off with this guy. He's probably one of my favorite players that we're talking about today. Van Alstyne athlete Brady Carson had a fantastic junior season on both sides of the ball. Offensively, he contributed over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. But man, I would say on the other side of the ball is where this guy really shines, and he's the most valuable. He just causes so much pain for receivers and skill players on the offense as a lockdown corner, I'd say. And he racked up 36 tackles, 4 interceptions last season. And when you watch him, he's just an absolute menace in man coverage, forcing pass breakups here and there, causing receivers to make mistakes when running routes. I think he's got a really high football IQ. When watching them, he can read the quarterback, he can read offenses really, really well, which makes him a great corner. And that kind of plays tribute to the type of colleges that are looking at him, like Illinois State and Dartmouth. This kid is really smart, and I think he's going to be fantastic to watch, especially on the defensive side of the ball this year for Van Alstyne. Up next, let's talk about Pottsboro quarterback Caden Humphrey. Definitely a player you're going to want to watch, but most importantly, I think he's going to be kind of this staple here for this Pottsboro team when it comes to wanting to grab the district title and going face-to-face with Whitesboro to grab that district title, and then making a run in the playoffs as well. I like this guy. He's a threat with his arm, but I think he's more so of a threat with his legs. He ran for almost 1,200 yards last season with 14 touchdowns on the ground, and he's only a junior. So he not only returns with varsity experience because he started there as a sophomore, but he also has another year to grow in size and in frame as well. He can grow his skill set for another year. And I think Pottsboro, like we said earlier, is always the team that we talk about when it comes to playoff contention and it comes to making deep runs in the playoffs. And I think that quarterback Caden Humphrey can absolutely get them there.
Yeah.
Moving right along here, I mentioned him earlier, but let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper. Gunner safety, Colin Peacock. It's the return of the Peacock. Which is a great last name for him because you know what peacocks do when they try and intimidate people, right? They puff up their feathers and stuff, and Colin Peacock is intimidating.
Colin, I would like to apologize on behalf of women talking football for the disgrace of your last names going through right now.
I'm not disgracing it. Why would I be disgracing it?
I don't know.
You know how big peacocks are and intimidating they are? That's
many
the comparison
viewers
I'm
of
trying to make.
Campbell's understand I've dealt with a lot of peacocks in my life. They used to be all over Llano.
And they're intimidating and they're scary, which is exactly what I'm trying to portray with Colin Peacock here. Anyways,
good at football, Colin Peacock.
If you watch his huddle film, that's all the confirmation you need. He's just a menace when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. He's a ball hawk. He's got a nose for the football. He's just a really, really fun player to watch. And he's a great weapon on the offensive side of the ball, too, being used as a deep threat downfield when needed to.
He's tall. He's got that height.
He does. He's got a great frame. He's got great size. He's currently committed to Baylor as recently as March, and he committed over our airways, Dave Campbell's Texas football. So, and you got to remember too, this Gunner team is a team that held opponents to an average of 7.8 points a game last season.
They're solid.
They're solid. And Colin Peacock there is the leader of that. And finally, I already mentioned him earlier. Let's round it all out with Honey Grove athlete Rylan Morris. Absolutely the most important player, I'd say, for Honey Grove when it comes to star power and commanding the offense. He's returning from last season where he put up huge numbers, threw for 888 yards and 10 touchdowns, ran for 1,700 yards and 32 touchdowns on the ground. The dude's just an athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Dude's just an athlete.
He's mowing over people.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. He's super fast. He's slippery in the backfield, making defenders miss tackles left and right there. He's really, really a great player. And he's only a junior, too, which gives him a little bit more time for growth and size room to grow and stuff. And he racked up over 20 scholarship offers before committing to Baylor back in July, where he's listed to play at running back. Big get for Keenan Hall out there in the Baylor Bears. So really excited to watch him kind of take command of that Honey Grove offense and make it his own kind of. So there you go. There's some players to keep your eye on up in the Texoma area. A lot of great talent out there. So make sure to keep your eyes on a couple of those players throughout this season.